You are listening to Level Up Your Gaming Podcast, episode 89, Building an Epic Game. Today we talk about building your epic game. We discuss ways to start your players out slow and build them into a larger challenge. We discuss multiple ways to gate your players and also pitfalls to avoid when building them up. If you'd like to participate in the discussion or leave us feedback, you can contact us at levelupyourgamingpodcast@gmail.com or find us on Facebook at facebook.com/levelupyourgaming. If you like the content and want to hear more of the show, subscribing will ensure you don't miss an episode. New episodes come out almost every Wednesday. Also, please review, tell a friend about the podcast, or share with your gaming group. Now sit back and enjoy the episode. Welcome to the Level Up Your Gaming Podcast. My name is Aaron, and joining me in person, he'll build to a crescendo in any game, Jared.
Good day.
Good day. How are you doing today, Jared?
Not bad. Yourself?
I'm doing great. We're a couple episodes late on kind of calling these up because we recorded a couple in advance, but we did get some emails to our episode on story over success.
Mm-hmm. We did.
We got one from Chris, and Chris, again, thank you for always writing in. You've got some really good points. I liked your point about the author versus GM point, which I know was brought up there.
You know what? It was a valid point. Authors do have it hard. They do. And it was a little callous of me to be like, we've got it hard. But always remember, Chris, when I am doing this podcast, I'm trying to reinvigorate our community.
Yes. And
make you feel like you're joining the Marines.
And then we got to Jared's blasphemy.
Then we got to, oh my God, you had me
which was Jared's question about like, why didn't we just use the Eagles and we could just skip the whole quest and all this.
Could have.
Chris,
I still say a volcano does not equal anti-air assets. Are those guided? I think they're unguided. To be perfectly honest, I think those Eagles would swoop right around. Goodbye.
Loved it. This was one of the funniest responses we ever got.
So it was fantastic.
He did it in a two named points, but I think there were probably multiple points in here. But he goes, first, the Eagles are not slaves. Slavery is something they do in Mordor, not in Gandalf 2.0 can do it.
He's got a point.
Gandalf wasn't.
He wasn't really that powerful.
Wasn't really as powerful as.
Gandalf kind of sucks. Oh, did I just blaspheme again?
And your other one was that Sauron does in fact have anti-air. He's got a volcano, which the volcano could also double as chemical warfare. Talk about how Sam and Frodo barely made it. Even though the army was being kind of handled by Aragorn's army. And then you said there's the Air Force of 9 flying creatures beating riders who have the power to bring down the entire freaking city just by staring at it sideways. And then you also said the Eagles did well in the Battle of the Five Armies when they were like the American Air Force Corps going up against the Bolivian Air Force.
So it's either American Air Corps because it was the Army Air Corps.
Oh, it's the American Army Air Corps going up against the Bolivian.
Then he's historically correct because in World War II it was the Army Air Corps
going up against the Bolivian Air Force.
My grandfather was actually part of the Air Corps, of my mother's father.
I'm just not great at reading out loud.
You are really not great at it.
No, I'm really terrible
at it. You should probably let the professional teacher do that because I have literally read from books in front of like classes of students.
But we've never seen them up against the Nazgul. And as they show up in the Battle of the Black Gate, the Nazgul have been suddenly retasked to go squash Frodo, who has just claimed the ring and made Sauron aware of his intelligence failures.
I loved that part.
It keeps going. It's so great.
You had my wife rolling laughing because she's a bigger Lord of the Rings, and also this is from my wife. My wife is on your side, so she is also a Lord of the Rings fan. She also believes what I said was blasphemy. So she wanted you to know that you have an ally in this house and that this house does not blaspheme Lord of the Rings. So just so you know, you're not alone.
I just love these other points. There's also the fact that had Frodo flown into Mordor and failed to cast the ring in, there would have been no Smeagol to inadvertently and probably potentially fulfill the quest. Frodo claims the ring. Someone, Boromir, beheads him, takes the ring, Aragorn beheads him. Takes the ring. Gandalf burns Aragorn down the shoes. Takes the ring. Sauron shows up and squashes Gandalf to a pulp. Takes the ring, and it's all over until Sam beheads Sauron. And
You're banned from reading.
oh, because Sam is a fucking badass when you harm.
You're never doing this again.
No, never again. And become the new dark green lord.
I'm going to stop you here.
I'm gonna just delete part of this. Anyways, you just go down this great path.
Great
there.
email. I freaking loved it. Allie loved it. Aaron loved it.
I loved it. Thank you so much for writing
you.
in. It means a lot. We just got a huge kick out of it, and the humor was gold.
It was golden. Golden, I say.
And then yes, you were doing correct penance in reading the 12 books of Middle Earth. Since we've engaged in this blasphemy. We also got an email from Gary on the exact same episode.
Yep.
And he talked about story over success. He talked about doing the big quest and how he's had success with that before. He's running kind of a mild quest. He's had better success with that these days. He's now currently thinking of starting up a fantasy game where the characters start in a single city, no big quest to speak of. And he's going to keep them there in that city until the characters get to like level 3, I think is what he said in the email. And this kind of spawns the question for our episode today, which is how do you progress a game? How do you make that progression feel natural? How do you take you from the confined city and go to the wild flowing fields of your Middle Earth?
It won't be Middle Earth, not in my games.
I mean, it won't be Middle Earth, but you know what I mean, Jared.
Because fuck Tolkien. What? Blasphemy again? No, I don't say that about Tolkien. He did write an absolutely amazing environment, and I when I use Elven language in my games, I actually use Sidriel, the Elven language of Tolkien that he wrote. By the way, if you hear kids in the background, I live in a neighborhood. It's got a lot of kids.
They are squealing loud today.
They are squealing loud today, but you know what? They're kids. Let them play. So I'm not gonna run out there like an old man and be like, "Stop! You're playing.
We're podcasting right now.
We're podcasting right now." No, they're good kids. You know, they play dumb pranks like we used to do. Like they've ding dong dashed, and I caught them.
Got them.
They're fast. They're not that fast.
That's actually quite impressive, Jay.
Is it because I'm fat?
Yes.
Fuck you. Bro.
A zing.
That wasn't a zing. That was a stab. That wasn't a zing. It was a stab right in my fucking heart. I think I'm too fat to catch you. I used to tackle gangbangers for a living. I'm fast when I want to be. Stop looking at my belly. Ladies and gentlemen, you're about to witness the end of a 20-plus year friendship. Okay. You're literally here for it. Okay, but
so thank you for joining us for our last episode ever.
Aaron will be leaving now. No, okay, so back to our topic. So, Gary, the first thing that and to all storytellers, GMs, DMs, masters of ceremony, crafters of the lands, whatever mother, if you want to go by. My first thing is pre-planning. Always pre-planning. And I'm going to say it, and I've said it 1,000 times, and I'm sorry. KYP. KYP, is your group going to go for it? Because fortunately for me, I am in a group that will totally go for it. I'm in a group that would love the rags to riches story, right? I have played in a group that would have never have flown. Ever.
Yeah, if your players are like...
If they like to kill, crush, and destroy, trust me, they're not into the rags to riches.
I mean, the closest you got to the rags to riches stories was the Scion game. That
Elders.
You ran.
Elders. It was a rags to riches.
Well,
You guys started off
with the other group, is what I'm saying.
Oh yeah.
Was
But
the
even
Scion
that, they were scions. They essentially think of like under Hercules, like.
But you were dragging them along with the carrot the entire way. I mean, it was effectively like, go here, go do this, go do this, go here, and there's
horrific games I wrote.
It's fine, but I mean, we were scions in that game. There was really no need to progress to the next level.
No,
there was no. They just wanted to play power and let power run through the game.
Yep, that's what I gave them. Know your audience. So analyze your group. Is your group ready for a rags to riches story? Will they be hooked on that? So that's something that they are going to enjoy. If it is, fire it up. If it isn't, if you don't think this is going to fly, don't try to fly the kite. So, after that part, after you've made a go, no-go decision, and let's say you're still at a go, because the rags to riches, I'm telling you, there's a lot of people out there that they don't want to play rags to riches. They don't want the hero's journey. There's a lot of people out there that just want to kill, crush, destroy, and maim. And and as we talked about earlier on this podcast, dozens of episodes ago, murder hobos, which is a D&D thing that I still don't. I understand the concept now. Someone explained it to us via email. It was either Gary or Chris, I actually think.
I think it was Gary, actually, who did explain it.
Who explained murder hobos. I still don't understand the motive and why that is such an attractive thing in D&D that like 900 memes are made about it. So the one thing that once you've got that no-go decision that I want you to take a peek at is exactly actually kind of what Aaron said. Build your epic story first. Now you're gonna need some pre-prep time for this, so you might want to run a small campaign that really isn't very taxing on you while you're building this one, because this one will take some taxing. It will take some time because you're gonna have to pre-plan your epic campaign before you even make your small campaign. The big one has to be made first, because the little one should leave clues. Should have hints to the larger one upcoming. Why? Because it'll make you look like a magician. All your people will be like, "Oh my God, we encountered this evil wizard back when he was like a guy at a bar doing this, and we gave him the advice of do something with your life, and this is what he's done."
Well, when you say that, I mean, so part of the advice we gave was in the email back to you was to start, you're going to start small. Make sure that the game is contained enough that when the players finish it, if you're going to have this larger story, and to know the larger story, you don't need to have the next 82 sessions.
No, you don't.
You just need to have a general idea. You need to have a good idea of who they're trying to, who they're going to go after, or their organization. We've talked about that before, about organization building. You need to know how the end of this ties into that organization, and you need to have some major plot points probably figured out along the way. Things that you want the players to eventually strive to hit and achieve as they work towards your big 82 game epic. Okay, and forces them to kind of go out, and then you start thinking about it where the players then. The reason why that formula works so well is that once the players execute your story, they've got the piece that connects them to the large story so that it feels organic moving into the large story. Two, you're going to run this big 82 game epic. If the threat isn't so pressing right now, or maybe there's a lot of things that come out of your little story, you can then have the players sort of kind of craft their own way as they move into it. And maybe you keep dropping in other hints that, lead to this bigger piece for each little thing that the players end up doing. Again, just think of kind of like, but also make it where if the players said, you know what, this was really fun. We liked playing in the city of Ooga Booga. And
that is the worst city name you've ever.
That's the worst city name. I was going to call the city of Kashmir. Okay,
but that's a cloth.
But it works as a city name.
It does. Okay, so we're in the city of Kashmir.
Okay, so you're in the city of Kashmir.
Is this Kashmir? Seinfeld episode for all those who don't. What's this spot? It's a Seinfeld episode for those of you who've never seen Seinfeld.
But the
great show.
The beauty of doing that is that if you have a story in Kashmir where the players kind of move into it by chance, and when I say move into it by chance is, again, I don't know what your general motivation when you start your characters off are. So, go back to our gathering episode, go back to the session 0 episode and figure out how you're going to bring your characters together, what drives them. Okay. KYP, like Jared said, and build your little story around those goals.
Yes.
Okay? Level 1 through level 3, level 1 through level 5. I don't know how long. I know that in AD&D things take a lot longer to level up, so maybe level 1 through level 3 doesn't take that long.
Here's my thing, and forgive me for interrupting, but my thing is don't restrict it to level. Don't. Go when it feels right.
Yeah,
if they're level freaking 1 and they're ready to fly. Go.
Level's just a number, Gary.
Level is just a number. It is when it is ready for the story, for the characters. Have they reached that point for the players? Are they ready to expand outside the city with respect? You know what I mean? Respect for the wilderness, respect for the danger that's out there. Are they ready to fly like little birds from a coop?
No, that's perfectly said. It's you want them to feel like we are ready to take on a bigger adventure. You want the players to feel it, not the character level to dictate it. And the reason why you want the players to feel it is, again, we can draw straight from the experience of the investigation game here. I'll go back to the very first game that I ran for you guys. I was going to make it a zombie game at the end of the game. That was my original plan. Mm-hmm. Okay? And I realized, had I made it a zombie game, or had I turned it into the whole town's full of zombies, all of you would have gotten in a car, driven away.
Yes.
And I would have been like, there goes that game. We would never have the investigation series. It would have died right there. Okay? Instead, I made it a monster. One monster. Okay? And the players felt motivated to stop the monster. And every time beyond that, I said, this is the formula. It needs to start out as mundane and become a monster. Okay? Because if you feel like you've been thrown in the deep end of the pool, there's an often time that you're just going to swim or get out of the pool and be like, no, I'm done. This is way too much. Okay? Mm-hmm. Your players are going to do that, not because your players are maliciously trying to tank your game, but because your players are like, I'm not ready for this.
So one of my things is when when your players start thinking, because that's one of my things about players is unpredictability. It's chaos theory. If I could, I'd talk like Jeff Goldblum, but he's such a beautiful orator. I can't even begin to compare. So chaos theory, which is players. It's not actually, because that's very chaos theory's butterfly effect, but either way, moving on.
This is Jared trying to sound like Jeff, sound smarter than he actually is.
Which is not very smart. It's 2 insults today.
I know.
You just called me stupid and you called me fat. Like, what? Not even 10 minutes ago you called me fat?
Again, like I said, this is our last podcast, so I'm just letting them all go right now.
Let them go. Let them fly. He's like, you're dumb. You're fat. Your job sucks. But, okay. So, your players are going to try to jump out of the pool into the ocean very quickly. It's the nature of players. I have found it's the spirit of adventure that even rests in players that even are wanting the hero's journey, because they've been told time and time again that the hero's journey doesn't start until you leave the opening city. You know, I loved the Dragonlance novels when I was a kid. I read all of them, which is odd for me because I typically don't read fantasy. Well, as you grow older, excuse me, not enough coffee. And Aaron and I just ate like a ton of Polish food, which is very like nappy time afterwards. It's very heavy. So your players are going to try to escape very quickly. They're going to think like, even though we're level 0 heroes, we're ready to leave the city. We've got a stick and 2 copper coins between us. We're ready for this main adventure. That's when we'll start growing, right? The trick is to let them out, let them realize the dangers that are out there. So don't try to keep them confined to a city. Okay? That's my recommendation. A region would be more appropriate. Okay? Because what I'm giving them essentially, so think of it like a target. Okay? So I got my center is the city. And this is where there are appropriate level challenges. Okay? This is where they're going to start to grow. And then I've got my outer ring outside of that. Those are higher level challenges. Very dangerous for them at this current stage. You know, it's I want to go to grandmother's house to go deliver some berries, but she lives in ring 2. Well, in ring 1, I can get by with an axe handle and 2 copper coins. Out here in the wilds, there are packs of wolves, right? An axe handle isn't going to do much, especially if those wolves are hungry. It's not an overwhelming threat. It's not like, oh my God, we will never get past these packs of wolves out here.
So you're like building MMO zones here?
Go fuck yourself. You know what?
I'm sorry.
You know what? Did you just roll over and eat your shittios? So you're just building MMO zones? I didn't say boars. I said wolves, and they're natural.
Well, if you had gone out the west gate, you would have found the boars.
Bro. You can go home after this episode. And he's just sitting there laughing.
Okay. All right. Sorry.
So outside in zone 2 is now why you have the regions being a little bit more stressful, because when your players leave for the larger quest, they should feel like as the farther they go, the harder the challenges will get, and this will shape them. Because when they first go on that adventure out to Granny's house to deliver the berries, right, and they've got an axe handle, and you got to have them fight the wolves. They've got to fight the wolves. They got to be a little bit terrified of the wolves. So then when they go back to the safety of the city, right, or the town, okay, where there's walls and armed guards, right, that stand at the doors, they go, you know what? Those wolves don't fuck with that guard with the sword. Maybe we should buy swords. Let's get some money to get on the dope-ass Disney train, to get on the fun fucking part of the game. But, because that's what you're thinking right now. Aaron's looking at me with this devilish grin, just waiting for another reason to stab me. Like a cat who just ate the canary. That's the look on his face right now.
That's actually not a bad way to limit your players from leaving the city.
Well, it's because you can't box them in. You try to box them in, trust me, they're going to break down. To quote George, the Goldblum guy, Jeff Goldblum, they're gonna break down barriers violently, dangerously sometimes. They are going to find a way out because they don't want to be constricted by a single city.
Sure, but okay, so
It's role playing. It's not an MMO. They can walk out that gate if they want to. There's an endless world of possibilities. The thing is that you need a secondary level barrier.
Okay, this is where KYP really comes in. Okay, why you give me a sneer now?
I am giving you a sneer.
This is why KYP comes in, because go back to your other group of players who didn't really like the hero's journey, who didn't like the progression of the game. Okay, they needed the fence that's basically the MMO fence on the outside of the city. Okay, because if not, they would have just gone off on a beeline in the wrong direction. Okay, if you treat this like you're gathering, episode 1, the first game session, all that stuff, unless you've given your players cause to leave the city to solve their problem, the likelihood that they're going to leave the city is very, very low unless you have zero engagement.
Yes, that is true. As long as you keep engagement high in the city and you make sure your city is authentic. That is one of the points that you got to be like, your city has got to be good. It's got to be good.
And when I say authentic, go back to our prep episode, because you don't need to know every sewer system, every house, everything. Like, there's too much in a city. Okay, especially if your city's big.
The city's big. It's actually great to have areas of mystery. They're like, we've never been to the West End neighborhood. I wonder what it's like.
But there's so much that they can go do, and then just have enough, detail, NPC knowledgeable detail that can be transferred to any NPC to get them sort of leaning back in the right direction. Okay, but if your players do get it through their head that we got to leave the city to figure out this problem, that's where Jared's MMO gate thing kind of actually works very well.
Stop calling it an MMO gate thing.
It kind of is, though.
It's not.
Like in Hero Level 1 monsters, outside this ring here.
Oh my God. No. Because in MMO, there will be an invisible barrier where you'll just be running against.
No.
I don't know. I've never played MMOs. I don't like MMOs.
It's just like what World of Warcraft. Like,
I know. You know how long I've played World of Warcraft? I played it for 3 hours back in the day. I was still in college. I played it for 3 hours. I ended up getting drunk for one of those hours and then coming back and trying to play while drunk for the next hour. I spent one whole hour waiting for people to come find me.
And then there's that's terrible. But then there's this isn't like a video game where like the video game has like the gates like in an open world game,
right?
Okay, where like you run into it and it's like no, you haven't finished the stuff over here. like Mr. Man just standing there in his suit, like, sorry, can't let you into the jungle level because you haven't finished everything in the desert level.
That's true.
Okay, that's a video game. In an MMO, at least you could go to the worst place in the game. You get creamed.
Yeah. So
your situation is, sure, you can venture out of the city, but I'm going to eat you with the wolves.
I'm going to eat you.
Okay.
So, okay. And let me know when you're done with your points, because I have something to postulate to the world.
Sure. So, but what I'm trying to say is, if you've done your due diligence, especially in the early part of the game, and again, you asked about random encounters, other things like this. If you leave the city, do a random encounter.
Absolutely.
Do a random encounter and, make it higher than their level should be able to handle. Make it so it's threatening. Make it so they have to leave the encounter in a threatening way.
Yeah, because you know who hangs outside of cities? Bandits.
Okay? But perhaps the players are, like, dead set, like, oh, man, he's putting more roadblocks in front of us to get out of this city. Like,
listen to your players.
If your players
feel that pulse,
if the pulse starts moving, we got to get out of the city. Okay, it's time to retool, rethink, and get yourself a path out of the city
and to your main quest, because the birds are ready to leave. They're ready to leave. They've had it with the city. They feel confident enough in their abilities to leave the city, because the scariest part is that first step. But now it's been the player's choice to make the first step. We left on this epic quest because we wanted to, not because the storyteller told us, and that's magic.
But yeah, and again, you go back to the KYP side of things. If you have players that are interested in following or understanding the story or executing quests within the story, especially in your gathering piece there, if you've planned out, again, Jared's right. It shouldn't be done by levels. It should be until you get to this plot point where it dictates that you probably should leave the city. Okay? I believe this is the plot point that ties you into other stuff that's outside the city. Or this is enough of a plot point where you join the blue, barrage brigade or something like that.
The what?
I'm going for some alliteration here.
Okay.
And so the blue barrage brigade, you've heard about them in the town. Suddenly, you've caught their eye by doing whatever you were supposed to be doing. Okay, and somebody approaches you about it. Okay, and then their whole thing is we're going to keep doing stuff around the town. And your players are like, no, fuck that. We're pretty hot shit. We just took care of that dude over there as part of this other quest.
Was he a hobo?
Yeah. Shit. They murdered the murder hobo.
Oh, okay, there we go. We tracked down and killed a serial killer hobo.
And then
that's a story.
But your players are like, let's do some more. So I mean, when you finally get into that area that will branch you out, be willing, regardless of their level, to move in those directions and let your players start moving along.
Yes, absolutely.
You have something you want to postulate.
So I'm postulating to our community as a whole. I've actually, for another episode, I was planning on doing a game session with the guys for a system called Blades in the Dark. Moved past that. I decided I didn't want to do it. Right? Found a different system that I'm gonna throw at them. One that I'm really excited about. But mainly I ditched Blades in the Dark because trying to figure out just a simple stabbing action seems like complicated fucking calculus. Determine this, determine that. Your action should be a conversation. Oh God, no. Just make me roll dice. Too complicated. But I'm sure, because I got to the point of where I actually went and watched YouTube tutorials on how to play, and I still wasn't understanding.
Oh, well, yeah.
I'm what? He's determining the difficulty level and then reversing the flow of the what? It was very confusing. A little too much for me. Not to say anything bad about that system, because I still think the book, the materials is elegantly done. I really like their story side to it. It's just their mechanics are a little bit too for me. Considering they're the system that's the just say yes. But when it came down to combat, holy shit.
Just do a lot of shit.
Just whoa. So one of the things that I postulated, and one of the things that I've always envisioned doing, I've never actually done it, but for this game I had planned it out because a lot of the story is actually done. I even did maps for it. But starting off the characters as children, using an episodic game style. Neighborhood kids, you know what I mean? If you're starting off in a city, the kids that you are with in the neighborhood, right, are your friends. Aaron and I literally are an example of this. We have been friends for 20 plus years, and we lived in the same area.
We're friends by proximity, most likely.
I mean that's what we were. That's how it started. We met at swimming lessons.
Yeah.
Right? Because our moms are like, well, swim lessons, here's the local swim gym. I don't know.
And we stayed friends because we have common interests.
Well, yes. But starting off as kids can build it's going to be a different experience for your players. Because suddenly, every adult is a huge threat. But not every adult's going to kill you. Most adults don't kill kids. When there is no more... It's a way to really go from level 0 to level 3. And what I would recommend, if you want to take this idea and run with it, one small story at level 0. Right? Terror in the Treehouse. I don't know. Something small that they can do as kids where it's a formidable threat. It starts off, the neighborhood is not even where you leave. You know what I mean? It's not like, well, here's your city walls. The neighborhood. You don't leave the neighborhood. You don't know what's out in the big city. You don't have any copper coins. Mom won't let you go past, I don't know, Cow Street because mom will whoop your ass.
It's an interesting thought.
Hold on. Let me keep going. One little episode as young children. Episode 2. Teenager, middle school years. So early teens. Hell, even start off there. Next one, teenager level, right? We're now young. We're rebellious. We now run this neighborhood, and we go out in another neighborhoods. Maybe as kids they started a gang. I mean, not like we sell dope on the street corner gang, like a medieval gang where it's like we protect our neighborhood and make sure that other gangs don't come around here stealing tomatoes from the vendors. Think West Side Story. Don't think like Training Day, okay? That's what I want you to think, all right? And again, this builds up the character experience. It creates moments of bonding, right? We're still in the neighborhood. We're still in the city. Then we're young adults, right? 20 years old, somewhere in there. Actually, technically, in medieval period, you're a young adult at like 16. But you know what I mean? Progressing through age with 3 small stories really could set a different tone for your game, separate it from other games, and really start feeling like that adventure started here. We started off as children together fighting what we thought was something in the tree house. Turned out to be a raccoon. Scratched up Timmy real bad, right? And now we have become the 7 kings of Althator because yada yada, right? Holy shit, when we started this game, we were kids. We played children, and now we are this. It's the ultimate level 0 heroes to epic campaign quest. And what it does is I just like popped
Jared
the mic.
just karate chopped the mic.
I talk with my hands. It's a thing. And I'm not even Italian. But I do. I talk with my hands. I welcome you to do it or to try it in this sense because it sounds like you're really wanting to try this level 0 hero. Start off with like 10-year-olds. You know what I mean? Really go for it. Expand on the idea because when you start off, if you want to do level 0 heroes in the truest of ways, look at most books that go with level 0 heroes. You know what I mean? They're not mid-adults. They're almost children. Frodo isn't that freaking old. He's all about like stealing old man McCreary's corn. Like he's not like, oh man, got to get to my 9 to 5. Shit.
So here's my counter to you on this. And this is actually a point that was brought up by my friend Tom, we know Tom, but
I would ask which Tom, but both their last names end with the same initials. So
they both start
colored hair Tom or not colored hair Tom?
Not colored hair Tom.
Okay.
My previous roommate.
Gotcha. That one.
He brought up an interesting point to the last episode that we had released, which was we were giving examples of social situations.
He actually listens to the episode?
He listens to some of them.
Oh, that's so sweet.
And usually does while he's like taking his dog out for exercise.
Gotcha.
But he was listening to it, and we were talking about the point because, like, okay, well, if you don't get around to the rest of the episode, here's what it was basically about. Just explain it to him. We were playing board games, and he talked about how it's very hard to role play an experience or a situation and fill in a gap for something that you're not good at. And so the thing that you wouldn't be good at here is that unless you are a younger listener, you probably don't remember a lot of how you acted when you were younger to be able to fill in the gap in experience. You probably remember some of it.
Agreed.
Okay, but you're going to be playing a child with an adult's mind.
Agreed. So to an extent, you need experienced players to pull that off.
You need to be very experienced in playing the child or a character that is younger than their age. I mean, probably gonna have characters who probably could fit into the teenager role much better than.
Then yeah, start off. I mean, but all I'm doing is walking them to start off at a lower than, like we're 16 years old. Our father has told us to go marry our own wives and get our own fields.
What you could do is you could do something where the first quest or the first thing that comes up in the town is with characters that are underdeveloped for level 1. Meaning, like, you've restricted the character creation that make a character that feels like this, and then you could basically explain, because it's session 0 stuff. After these events, I'm going to let you level up to level 1.
Right, because I just, you know what? It's like, otherwise you get a group of level 1 fighters, right? How do they become fighters? Are they all going to be part of the city guard? Because unless you're part of the city guard, you're a farmer.
But this gives you the explanation for it. In the 7th Sea game that I'm playing, run by Tom, he effectively did this. You get the first edition of 7th Sea, you get so many points to create your character. Mm-hmm. He basically said, okay, 25 of those points you don't get until you get to this part of the game. So we went through our session 0 first night, and then we got to indulge in the other 25 points. And the purpose, I think, was to make a character that fits exactly in with your backstory at this moment. And then these points will let you round this character out into the fighter that they are or are going to be. So everything about your character is who I was and then who I get to become.
Love it.
Okay. Now, you have to have really committed players who want to do this, because I'm going to tell you right now, what's going to end up happening is you're going to have players who are going to go, oh, by the way, I'm going to purchase this skill. I'm going to purchase this thing. I'm going to do this because I know that once we hit level 1, these are very valuable to me as a level 1 character.
Yeah, you have to watch character creation very closely.
It's very, very tricky, but because some of the things that they may purchase have nothing to do with it. And again, I don't know how this works on a D&D stat sheet, especially an AD&D stat sheet for you, Gary. But that could be something that you could do too, if you just would like to kind of start the adventure at level 1, or even start the adventure pre-level 1, have something bigger at level 1, and then that gates them into the higher levels there. It also gives them investment in the city that they start in.
It does. It does. When you start off in a neighborhood, one section of the city, we lived in West End of the city. I mean, like, there's a pride to that. We started off in the west, in the poorest area of the city. We were farmers, and now we are kings, and we rally the people.
I urge you to go back to our prep episode to kind of get some more details into, like, how do you transpose the information amongst different people, like if you're going to do a gathering area. If you are going to do stuff strictly within the city, because you did ask about random encounters and stuff, anything that you want them to do in the city between up to the start of your bigger quest outside the city, plan it.
And here's I guess my final point with the city is you got to make the city a story. Don't skimp on that opening city. Okay, you got to make, and when I'm going to try to encourage you and inspire you, try to make a Gotham. You know what I mean? That place is full of stories. Every alley you turn down is one of crime.
Yeah, if the players never left that city, they would never be bored or want for more.
If you create, Haven from Dragonlance was the place that they started off with. It was like, oh, this is a pretty cool chai town. Like, I could live here for the rest of my life. Gives the players zero incentive to adventure or explore besides be farmers. Make this story a living organism that breathes. There are times of darkness and times of light.
If your players pick up on something, some seedy underbelly of the city or something like that, your players want to explore more of that, welcome it. Welcome it, because that's more stuff that the players can do in there. Jared's right. Make the city super compelling. Okay? And you don't need to have every building mapped out.
No, that is not a requirement.
React to your first game session. Just try to think about which direction they're going to go. Have enough of an answer in your head that You could drop a map.
Focus on stories, not on maps.
Yes. Just know enough so you could react to your players. After that, you'll know which way they're going. React accordingly.
Focus on stories, not on maps. That's what I'm standing on.
I like it.
Thank you.
You have anything else you want to add to this one?
You said you're a dick? No.
Sorry. This one, I owe Jared quite an apology and a milkshake.
Why? So you get more fat for your slings and arrows? We went to that Polish deli. Noticed that I did not even buy one punchki. Okay?
They looked so good.
They're amazing punchkis there.
Okay. Well, I'm sorry.
Thank you.
Anyways, that's going to wrap us up here for today. If you think I was too harsh on Jared, please let us know. Level Up Your Gaming Podcast at gmail.com or facebook.com/Level Up Your Gaming. You can also comment on the YouTube episodes. So
smash that like button.
And Gary, we hope we were able to help you out a little bit here. Hope the email gives you a little bit of inspiration as well. And go ahead and subscribe to the podcast if you're not already subscribed. You can write in with your own questions to us. Also, present it to a friend, present it to a player. Some of you want to get into GMing. This is the type of podcast that we want to be able to give new GMs, experience to, and you'll be able to bring our entire wealth of experience and knowledge from our base to you as well. So anyways, that's going to wrap us up for this week. So for Jared, I'm Aaron. Have a great week, everyone.
Have a great week, everyone.